Welcome, free thinkers. Today, we're diving deep into what could be the biggest scam of our time, climate change. That's right, the globalist overlords, corporate elites, and your neighbor's weird cousin have been selling us this story for decades. But why? Let's put on our tinfoil hats and consider the top 5 reasons climate change is a total hoax and why you should definitely not believe everything the mainstream media tells you. Number 5. The weather is lying to you. Have you ever noticed how the weather changes all the time? One day, it's boiling hot like Satan left the oven on. The next day, you're questioning if you woke up in an Ice Age reboot. This is how it's always been. Mother Nature isn't predictable. She's like your crazy ex who sends mixed signals. Sometimes she's warm and inviting, other times she's a raging lunatic throwing hurricanes and wildfires just to remind us who's boss. Yet somehow, we're supposed to believe that humans, yes, the same species that challenges each other to eat Tide Pods and ghost peppers, are responsible for this? Last time I checked, the sun exists, and it's been on a pretty solid hot streak for quite some time. But sure, let's pretend that a couple of plastic straws and your uncle's rusty old gas-guzzling truck are the real villains here. Meanwhile, the sun is out there literally nuking us with radiation every single day, laughing while we argue about paper straws that dissolve in your drink. But no, please, tell me more about how banning plastic grocery bags is going to stop hurricanes. Number 4. The elite want you broke and afraid. Have you ever wondered why every single so-called solution to climate change just happens to ruin your life? It's almost like they want you to suffer. They want you to ditch your car and ride a bike like it's the 1800s and pay higher taxes so the government can invest in more nonsense. And don't get me started on their recommendation to eat tasteless, spongy tofu, like that's supposed to replace a delicious, juicy cheeseburger. They're out here telling you to give up meat, drive a Prius, and shower less, as if smelling like armpit and crotch is going to fix the ozone layer. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear they want you to be broke, miserable, and nutritionally deficient. Meanwhile, the same people screeching about your carbon footprint are sipping champagne at climate summits on private islands after flying there in a fleet of private jets. But don't worry, they totally bought some carbon offsets, so that makes it okay. Nothing screams save the planet like burning more fuel in one trip than most people will in their entire lifetime. Oh, and let's not forget their acres of perfectly green, irrigated lawn surrounding their 20-bedroom mansions, because conservation is for peasants, not the elite. But hey, good news, your metal straw and $7 paper bag fee at Target are definitely saving the world. Ignore the fact that producing one electric car battery requires enough lithium mining to make an entire rainforest cry. Your reusable tote bag is doing the heavy lifting. Number 3. The science is totally unquestionable, which is totally normal, right? Ah yes, the one thing that must never be debated, questioned, or examined too closely, climate science. You can question physics, challenge medical research, even argue about whether Pluto is a planet. But the second you ask if maybe, just maybe, there's more to the story about climate change, suddenly you're a science-denying troglodyte who wants to burn the planet down for fun. Literally, every other field of science encourages skepticism. We constantly reevaluate medicine, nutrition, and even history. But climate science? Nope. Off limits. Case closed forever. No debate, no discussion. Just shut up and trust the experts. You know, the same kind of experts who once thought lobotomies were a great idea, heroin was a cough suppressant, and lead paint made great nursery decor. But don't worry, I'm sure they've got it right this time. Speaking of getting things right, remember the food pyramid? The government-approved guide that told us to eat our body weight in bread and pasta? Yeah, turns out that was terrible advice, so they changed it. And don't even get me started on eggs. First, they were going to kill us, then they were a superfood, then they were bad again, and now we're back to just eat them and hope for the best. So let me get this straight. Scientists can be wrong about literally everything else. But climate scientists? Oh no, they are infallible. Not one mistake, no bias, No room for corporate funding influencing their research. Just pure, unfiltered, 100% accurate, never to be questioned truth. Number 2. If climate change is real, why do billionaires keep buying beachfront property? Bill Gates, Leonardo DiCaprio, Al Gore, just a few of the doomsday prophets who have spent the last few decades shrieking about rising sea levels while simultaneously buying up oceanfront mansions like they're collecting monopoly properties. It's almost as if they don't actually believe the world is going to be swallowed by the Atlantic anytime soon. Maybe they figure, since they have the penthouse suite, that the water won't make it that high. Or maybe, just maybe, the whole thing isn't quite as urgent as they'd like us to believe. Call me overly cautious, but if I were truly convinced that a multi-million-dollar property was going to be Atlantis 2.0 in 10 years, I'd probably skip the beach house and go for something a little less flood-prone. Maybe a cabin in the Rockies, a nice bunker in Montana, or, literally anywhere that doesn't require flood insurance, the price of a small country's GDP. But let's be realistic. If these people were actually terrified of climate change, they'd be hoarding supplies in a secret underground lair, not sipping champagne on a 200-foot yacht that burns more fuel in a day than your car does in a decade. Yet here they are, throwing A-list yacht parties in Miami, flying private jets to climate summits, and buying beachfront property like the ocean itself is just an optional feature. But hey, I'm sure they just forgot about that whole apocalypse thing when signing their real estate contracts. Happens to the best of us, right? Number 1, it's the perfect excuse for total control. At the end of the day, climate change is the perfect excuse for a global power grab. Think about it. They tell you there's an invisible, unstoppable crisis that only they can fix if you just hand over every last shred of personal freedom first. It's the oldest trick in the book. Manufacture fear, demand obedience, and promise salvation, for a small price, of course. And by small price, I mean your money, your choices, your privacy, and your sanity. Digital carbon tracking? Oh, you mean that thing where every single thing you do is monitored to make sure you're being a good little citizen? Social credit system tied to your energy use? Great. Can't wait to have my ability to buy groceries locked because I used my gas stove too much this month. Temporary lockdowns for the planet? Ah, yes, because we all know how well those temporary government measures work out. Just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Oh wait, sorry, make that 2 years. Now imagine the same thing, but this time, it's just until carbon levels are under control. Spoiler alert, they never will be. And of course, let's not forget the cherry on top, owning nothing and being happy. Because nothing screams utopia like a handful of billionaires flying private while the rest of us ration crickets and take out microloans for groceries. But hey, this time, it's different. This time, it's definitely for your own good. Just like every other totally not suspicious global crisis they've ever pushed. Trust them. So there you have it, folks. 5 rock-solid reasons why climate change is totally a hoax and not at all a wildly complex issue with real environmental consequences. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to drive my diesel-powered truck to the grocery store to buy myself a steak. I'll wash it down with a Coke, with not 1, but 2 plastic straws. Enjoy your Prius and tofu steak while you like, and subscribe.